the officials say it was doctored, they still go on to comment on what was being said.
Right.
That, well, actually, the picture that is being painted is safe to say there wasn't too much in the audio. We can disregard what was said. So what is your position? Is it your position that this tape is doctored and must be discarded? Is it your position that some portions are doctored and must be discarded? Or is it your position that is in fact his voice, but the issues are not that serious? Which is which? Because in one conversation, the opinions travel here and there. It's doctored. If it's doctored, I would say, well, then park it. But whilst it's not doctored, you are saying it's doctored, but you're still commenting on what is being said. I have been so confused. I think we have to be more honest as a people. If something is stinking, if something appears untoward, if something appears tacky, we should be bold enough to say it. I'm no lawyer. I don't, profess to be a lawyer. I'm looking at this with from a layman's perspective, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look tidy at all, and it's being spun in so many different directions. I simply cannot wrap my head around it.
I think that it would do the Attorney General a lot of good. I know that he has since returned from his trip. That's the information I have.
I see.
Unless that information is not accurate, but that's the information I have, that he's since returned. The last time we saw him was on a private jet, on a flight.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Okay.
I think it was business class or first class. I'm not too sure.
I see. There was some video, a picture also circulating.
Right. Taking a power nap of a sort. Well, so he has since returned. These are very, very, and the public have developed some interest in this matter, largely because it was the Attorney General first who put out a press release in the public domain. In the past, before that, we had heard persecution and not prosecution, right? And then the Attorney General comes to press home his point with a press release, right, and draws in the NDC. Then the NDC announces that, okay, if you have drawn us in, we will go and host a press conference and then release some of the evidence that we have. The MPP said, okay, we will also retaliate, or if you like, respond in equal measure, and also hold a press conference and play some of the tapes. We know that the NDC played a 16-minute, 5-second audio. General Sidun Kutia may have put a slant on it, trying to explain to us what...
That has come up in conversation as to why he was pausing and explaining. I had some small also reservations about that, because during their press conference, it was a bit noisy, so I couldn't really follow. Now that we have the tapes, it's quite clear. But at the time, I wish you would have allowed it to flow and the entire and then maybe come in maybe at the end. But I think the interjections maybe made it a bit noisy because the room was noisy. But it also gave some further clarity. So I don't know. We give it a pass, I suppose.
Well, the thing is that this had become a political matter.
It has.
So he will naturally, as the leader of the political party, the chairman of the political party of which Atufosin belongs. And Atufosin is also an important member of the party. He's the leader of the side in parliament.
That's right.
Etc. The party will do what they can to protect him. Because if he goes down, means that, a big wing of the party has gone down.
That's right.
So he would put the slant on it. I mean, his own interpretation, which is why I said that when the MPP, led by Frank Davis, held that press conference, they should have also brought us the original, the 26 minutes or so that he alluded to. It should have been brought. Then we can listen to the 26 minutes and listen to the 6 minutes, 16 minutes, 5 seconds. And then as Ghanaians, as right-thinking members of society, also make up our mind. Okay, so it's doctored, it's not doctored. Okay, so the facts are one and the same in both, audio. Then we can have an example and a conversation.
The people do not believe that the tape is doctored. If you are following the conversation, if you have joined a number of the spaces, if you watch the debates on television, the people, I'm here to tell you, the general perception, and nobody's claiming to be an expert in IT, but even listening to some of the security analysts talk about the tape in its entirety, and I was listening. I'm not an expert, but the conversation appeared to be flowing. You talk, I talk. you talk, I talk. The normal sequence of a conversation. Now, whilst it is alleged that there's a longer version, is it also possible that, maybe you're talking to somebody, you might only activate the recording when things start to get maybe juicy. I don't know whether it was at that point that, although the conversation was long, maybe Mr. Jakpa decided that, hey, okay, let me now hit record, because where this is going, this is where I need to make sure it's possible.
But should we not be asking the question how Mr. Frank Davis got to know that there's 26 minutes? Audio, right? He should be telling us how he came by that.
We know in the screenshots that the NDC had released, the conversation was on WhatsApp, and I think once you end the call, it tells you the full duration. Right. So that is what I believe the NPP is standing on, that the full duration says 26 minutes, blah, 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 but you have brought 16. So they are claiming that maybe those 10 minutes or so that were lost, the NDC, they are now saying the NDC should produce. But I've been thinking about it over the weekend. I thought, well, maybe Mr. Jakpa decided to hit that record maybe 10 minutes into it. I don't know. This is just me, my speculations and thinking about the situation. So the longer version may or may not exist. Right. But again, if the MPP alleges that this tape is doctored and it's not clear, and they said there were some repetitions, then it seems to suggest that they know how the conversation actually went.
Right.
Either because they've been told by the AG who was a party to that conversation, or they have that actual tape that they have listened to and they know that it's a different conversation that ensued. That notwithstanding, comments such as there's nothing really in the tape for us to be worried about and this is not a big deal, and I've heard that kind of argument also being advanced. It's not really, I mean, they say, where did you hear him, asking Jakpa to lie? I've heard that come up. There are people ask, but he didn't really say that. He's just, it was a debate about the LC and whatnot. No. Even the optics do not look good.
They don't look
even
good.
The optics do not look good.
The fact that it happened.
The fact that it happened in the first place is not palatable. It's not palatable at all for many reasons. And last week I said that justice must be seen to be served, and not just to be served, because of how important a function our judiciary has in our society. It cannot be the case that justice is just being. It must be seen. So anything that appears to be an interference in the natural course of justice should worry you and I, because we take our matters to the courts as a last resort. That should be the place where it's no respecter of status. Final. No respecter of your status and so on and so forth. It must be protected and held to the highest standards possible, because one day you and I will need to go there, and you have to have trust that those who are in charge are not going to meddle, that you are in safe hands, that you have brought your case, it will be adjudicated fairly.
Well, let's listen to lawyer Frank Davis. He spoke on behalf of the NPP, and there have been applications before the court, and you get to it in a bit. It's on the page. The side of Mr. Jakpa is asking for the charges and everything, the case to be struck out because the way it is going, I'm sure at Forson's team have also put in something. So we'll get you the details. But first, listen to Mr. Frank Davis, is director of he's the chairman of the MPP's Constitutional and Legal Committee. Listen.
The alleged conversation is supposed to last 26 minutes. The NDC schemed to play only 60 minutes, 16 out of 26. The question is, where is the rest of the tape? Even in respect of what was played, it is apparent that there are repetitions, overlaps, incoherence, voice-over, and distortions, demonstrating that the NDC has spent these past days distorting whatever tape they played. The AG will not resign. He will continue to remain witty, resolute, and focused in the delivery of his work, as he does always. The wheels of justice, we say, grind slowly, but eventually it will grind to a halt.
That's lawyer Frank Davis, is the chairman of the NPP's Legal and Constitutional Committee. And it's some 31 minutes after 8 here on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Here's Johnson Asedu Nketia. He's also the NPP's national chairman. Listen.
This gross professional misconduct on the part of no less a person than the Attorney General, who was the leader of the bar, bears a high responsibility to adhere to the rules of ethics of the legal profession, is reprehensible and totally unpardonable. The next one has to do with the fabrication of evidence to pervert the course of justice. Minister of Justice fabricating evidence to pervert the course of justice. It is instructive to note that in the audio recording, Godfrey Dame is heard persuading Mr. Japa not to end his testimony by a particular time to allow him to travel, to allow Godfrey Dame to travel. The dishonorable Attorney General is also heard persuading Mr. Japa to procure and submit a fake medical excuse duty to the court, which he was scheduled to testify before that morning. Attorney General and Minister of Justice. This was to enable Godfrey Dame travel abroad without missing Japa's testimony. Attorney General, you are asking somebody who is before court for
Johnson Asedu Nketia there. Now, Helen, we do know that the legal team of Kesela to Forcing seeking the court to strike out in fact, the lawyers for Honorable Atuforcing have filed a supplementary affidavit in support of the motion on notice for an order of mistrial, injunction, or stay of proceedings in the ongoing ambulance cases. What more do we know, Helen?
All right, so I do have the application for an order striking out the charges. It's a fairly lengthy one, some 43 pages there.
You don't have to stress yourself over everything.
But I can just read that first page. Okay, so it's the Republic versus Kesel Atuforcing, first accused. We know the second accused, Sylvester Enimana, has been discharged. He was unwell. And then we have Richard Jakpa, third accused. Notice of motion. So they're applying for an application or seeking an application for an order striking out the charges and terminating the proceedings, or alternatively staying the proceedings against the third accused under Articles 19, 23, 88.3 and 296A and C of the 1992 Constitution. It says, please take notice that this honorable court shall be moved by Thaddeus Sori Esquire, and that's the lawyer for third accused, Mr. Richard Japa, who we're told was his lawyer at the time he had a conversation with the AG. Okay, shall be moved by Thaddeus Sori Esquire, for and on behalf of the third accused, hearing, praying the cause for an order, one, striking out the charges and accordingly terminating the proceedings against the third accused, or alternatively, a stay of the proceedings before the court against the third. And please take further notice that the grounds of the application are, and I'll read them out, there's 5 of them. 1.
Okay.
The Attorney General, at whose instance the third accused is being prosecuted in the instance suit, has brought the charges and instituted the proceedings in abuse of the process of the court and is going contrary to his constitutional obligations under Articles 23 and 296 of the 1992 Constitution. That's the first thing they allege. Now, 2, the Attorney General, at whose instance the third accused is being prosecuted in the instance suit, has brought the charges and instituted the proceedings in abuse of the Attorney General's prosecutorial powers, contrary to his constitutional obligations under Articles 23, 88, 3, and 296 of the Constitution. And 3, in engagements with the third accused, the Attorney General has admitted that there is no case against the accused. And then finally, okay, it's 4 points. Finally, 4, the continued prosecution of the third accused violates the accused's right to a fair trial. Now, upon the grounds deposed in the accompanying affidavit, and for such further or other orders as the courts may deem in the circumstances. Okay, so those are the 4 points for which the lawyer of the third accused has put forward as to why they are seeking a striking out of the charges or terminating the proceedings altogether.
Interesting. So, what does Article 23 of the 1992 Constitution say? It says that administrative bodies and administrative officials shall act fairly. They shall act fairly and reasonably and comply with the requirements imposed on them by law, and persons aggrieved by the exercise of such acts and decisions shall have the right to seek redress before a court or a tribunal. I read it again. Administrative bodies and administrative officials shall act fairly and reasonably and comply with the requirements imposed on them by law, and persons aggrieved by the exercise of such acts and decisions shall have the right to seek redress before a court or tribunal. Now, the administrative official in this matter will be the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. They think that, they have not been, he has not been, what do you call it? He has not been bring the word
Fairly
fair in the discharge of his duty, and so they're asking. Article 296 is the provision of the Constitution on discretion and the use of discretion. C, for example, says that 296C says where the person or authority is not a judge or other judicial officer, there shall be published by a constitutional instrument or statutory instrument regulations that are not inconsistent with the provisions of this Constitution. That's the other law to govern the exercise of the discretionary power. It goes on, the beginning to talk about the fact that the powers of discretion should not be whimsical and capricious. As HMS's Bosu's famous phrases, should be whimsical and capricious. And I suspect that they think that the Attorney General has been whimsical and capricious in. Well, so let's wait for what the court will say.
They also cite Article 19, and Article 19 of the 1992 Constitution says a person charged with a criminal offense shall be given a fair hearing within a reasonable time by the court. Where the punishment is death, the verdict of the jury shall be made by such a majority as Parliament may prescribe. So they're also talking about fair hearing here in Article 19 as well, which is cited by Mr. Richard Jakpa.
Okay.
As well.
Well, so now we have the details of what it is that it's early days here, as somebody says, but this clearly will be a make or break for Godfred Dame if you go around and listen to some of the conversations that are being had, at many different places. There are those who hold the opinion that he should not have engaged Mr. Jakpa at all in those conversations and those orders, especially when we are now told by the facts that we know that the plea bargain and all of those things that were put forward say, let's give you back our money so you can give us back. The ambulances which you say are not fit for purpose was shut down flat.
That's right.
Yeah, so then they start questioning the motive. I suspect that's when Mr. Jakpa started, his recordings. Because if you say what I brought is not up to standard, and that because of that you're putting me before a court, I say, okay, well, give it back to me. I'll give you back your money and matter go. Nobody loses. You say no, and you still want to proceed. Then there should be some other motive beyond just trying to get value for money or retrieve the money.
And that's a fair question to ask. And I can't remember where this analogy was made, but somebody comes to you, your bedroom, to steal an amount of money, your life savings of some 20,000 Ghana cedis.
Right.
I'm trying to recall who made that analogy, but I'm stealing it this morning. And the police come and they find the person, and luckily that money they stole is still intact, and they come to you and you have the option. You collect the money and you have your money back, or you don't collect the money and you say, no, this person, I want you to jail the person, so the money, I'll not collect it.
I will deal with you.
You put an analogy forward, and it gets your brain juices thinking. As a poor nation, why would we reject?
Money that is owed us?
Because the basis of our trial is that we've lost money, and if that money is being given back to us, of course, some might cite issues of the deterrence being an option. But again, as a poor nation, I think we need the money, don't we?
Now, In full, maybe for the benefit of all of us, Article 296 says where in this constitution or in any other law discretionary power is vested in any person or authority, A, the discretionary power shall be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid. A duty to be fair and candid. B, the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, whether by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of law. And C, where the person or authority is not a judge or other judicial officer, they shall be published by constitutional instrument or statutory instrument regulations that are not inconsistent with the provisions of this constitution or that other law to govern the exercise of the discretionary power. So this is what it says there. Interesting days ahead, is it not?
Oh boy, well, we live to see. I'm not too sure when the courts are sitting again for this particular case.
But you know that the Attorney General has also filed an affidavit in opposition to what? So to place it in context, the Atoforcing team have filed a supplementary affidavit in support of the motion on notice for an order of mistrial, injunction, and or stay of proceedings in the ongoing ambulance case. Right?
Yeah.
And then you go to the Attorney General, and he also says, I disagree.
So the Office of the Attorney General has described as frivolous and a complete waste of time, of the court's time, two applications filed by the minority leader, Dr. Kaysel Atoforcing, and businessman Richard Jakpa, seeking to essentially terminate their trial in the 2.37 million euro defective ambulance case. Affidavits filed in opposition to the applications before a high court in Accra aver that the accused persons are bent on using any means necessary, fair or foul, to abort their legitimate prosecution for crimes committed against the Republic and must not be aided in that illegitimate endeavor through a grant of that instance application. And that is what the Office of the AG is saying.
So this is a court document, case number CR/0198/2022. The Superior Court of Judicature and the High Court of Justice Financial Economic Crime Division, and it says that the Republic versus Kaysel Atoforcing, Sylvester Animana, and Richard Jakpa, so first, second, and third accused. And then it says affidavit in opposition to motion for an order striking out the charges and termination proceeding, or alternatively staying the proceedings against the third accused or the applicants. That I'm well, so seven, maybe that okay. So paragraph 5 says that paragraph 4 rather. It says that no proper grounds have been canvassed by the applicant to warrant a grant of this application, which is unknown to criminal procedure and practice in Ghana. Paragraph 5 says that the instant application is a ruse and a desperate smokescreen set up by the applicant to abort his legitimate prosecution for the role he played in causing colossal financial loss to the state in the purchase of ordinary vans purporting to be ambulances. The application anchored on truths and a skillful manipulation of facts seeks to clothe the applicant with immunity from prosecution, and to this extent is incompetent and offensive to Ghanaian law. Paragraph 6 said that I respectfully say that all persons are equal before the law, and the Attorney General's constitutional responsibility to prosecute all crimes within the Republic of Ghana cannot be injuncted in respect of some particular persons or any group of persons in Ghana. 7, that the instant application is an extension of the public theatrics the accused persons have resorted to in a bid to discredit the prosecution of this case and cast doubt about the integrity of the proceedings in this honorable court, all of which the Attorney General has so far observed utmost professionalism about, in spite of the persistent insult and abuse to his integrity by persons associated with accused persons. Paragraph 8, that the prosecution of the accused person in this case is based on cogent evidence and after painstaking investigations conducted. Credible witnesses called by the prosecution have already been cross-examined by counsel for the applicant and the other accused persons, after which this honorable court held that a prima facie case has been duly made against all the accused persons. Paragraph 9. That in fairness to the accused persons, the Attorney General duly filed all the evidence he intended to rely on at the trial and furnished all parties to this action with copies of all documents, including even the ones he did not rely on. In fact, most of the documents tendered by the accused persons at the trial came from the prosecution. 10. That the respondent denies each and every allegation of material fact contained in the applicant's affidavit in support. 11. That the depositions in the affidavit in support of the instant application are laden with spurious allegations which are carefully and mischievously calculated at creating unnecessary anxiety about the capacity of the court to dispense justice in this case. 12. That even though the applicant levels many untrue and wild allegations against the Attorney General in his affidavit in support, none of them attacks the integrity of the court or questions any decision or actions by the trial court which impedes the capacity of the court to administer justice in this case. 13. That in specific answer to paragraph 12 of the applicant's affidavit in support, the respondent states that it is not true that counsel for the applicant was not aware of the mischievous strategy that had been planned by the applicant before the proceedings of the court on May 23, 2024. Indeed, when the learned trial judge retired into chambers and invited all counsel into chambers, counsel for the applicant, holding brief for Thaddeus Sorry, informed the trial judge that he was aware that the applicant had recorded a conversation between the applicant, the Attorney General, and the Justice of the Supreme Court, whose name counsel for applicant mentioned to the learned trial judge as Yoni Kulendi JSC at the house of the said Justice of the Supreme Court. 14. That the attempt by the counsel for the applicant to mislead the court into thinking that they were not aware of the mischief of the third accused before the proceedings of the 23rd of May 2024 only highlights the manipulation of facts and untruths the entire application is laced with. 15. That in specific response to paragraph 13, 14, and 15 and 16 of the affidavit in support, the respondent says that the applicant again deliberately puts a spin on the facts surrounding the so-called meeting with the Attorney General. The applicant knows, as has been already indicated by his counsel to the trial judge in chambers, that it was his cousin, Yoni Kulendi JSC, who invited the Attorney General to the distinguished Justice of the Supreme Court's residence, an invitation the Attorney General honored out of respect only for the applicant to show up. So there's more meat in this matter, Helen. a lot of meat in this matter. So let's see how the court deals with this. We are not qualified to deal with the issues.
Certainly.
But we do know that Forson's team have filed. They want the matter discontinued.
That's right.
And then the Attorney General has also filed to say, look, I oppose this. We will continue because we have come too far. Godwin Edujitamaklo is the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC. First, let's understand the processes. What is going on?
Between so by the way, good morning.
So Atu Forsons,
I saw you. You were looking
at the VGMA, TGMA.
She was looking something else. Your designers have done.
People said their parents have the same cloth.
Yes.
So Helen is wearing their parents' cloth.
Oh, yeah.
How did she acquire it?
Some of them said they couldn't recognize me. Or it was I.
Some people walked past you.
They walked past me, but it was.
The Rasta people say I
and I.
Me, myself, and I.
And I. Thank you, Edith. Good to see you this morning.
You did so well.
Thank
You're
you.
looking.
As they'll say.
The rest
so
I can't say it on there.
6 twos.
I don't want to be recorded.
6 twos. Recording.
Yes, just to let you know, this is recorded. This is recorded.
But so this is in support. One affidavit filed in support to say we don't want to continue this matter, strike it out, and then the Attorney General says no, I oppose. We have come too far. Let's go. What's going on? Let's understand the legal process.
Okay, so I am handicapped in many material respects. Remember that I was the lawyer who was doing the cross-examination when this thing unfolded.
Right.
So by the professional rules, I cannot, as it were, go into the details or merit, except just to run you. So usually, court processes are started either by a writ, or a petition, or application. These three modes.
Okay.
A writ, a petition, or by an application.
Okay.
Now, when it is a writ, you attach a fact to the writ.
Right.
So that fact is also in what we call a statement of claim. Now, if I serve it on, say, my lady here, she has the right to enter appearance and file what is called a defense.
Right.
Now, the matter after the defense and everything will be set for trial. Now, the trial will now ask the parties to file what we call witness statements.
Okay.
And based on the witness statement, the parties are cross-examined. Then a decision is given.
Okay.
Now, when it is, or the process is originated by an application, the party on whom the application is served, so the application comes with a fact. But you see, in court, it is only when you mount the witness box that you are asked to take an oath.
Right.
But you can also take an oath by writing.
Okay.
So that is what we call affidavit.
Okay.
So the affidavit contains depositions. You understand?
Right.
So, for instance, what you just stated, there's an application. Then the application is accompanied by factual matters.
Right.
But because the person making the factual matters will not go into a witness box before talking, he's done it by way of writing.
Right.
He goes to a commissioner of oath to say that what I am saying, I risk perjury if I lie in it. So you see that the affidavit at the tail end deposed to deponent.
Right.
So it's a deposition and sworn to before a commissioner of oath.
Okay.
So if it turns out the thing that you have put in the affidavit turns out to be inaccurate, false, you can be cited for perjury.
There will be consequences.
Perjury.
You could go to jail.
Perjury. So that is how the processes are done. So like this one, an application is filed. It is accompanied by factual matters.
Right.
So from what you were reading, which is the affidavit by the attorney general.
Right, in opposition.
In opposition. It's deposed to. Did you see who deposed to it?
Right. Let me just quickly flash the name.
It's there's I think the one in the media, they've taken the name out.
Okay. No.
See the first paragraph.
The first paragraph. Yes, the name has been taken out. Principal State Attorney of the Office of the Attorney General.
Now, you see, between you and I, the things that have been said are direct to the Attorney General as a person.
Right.
But the person responding is not him.
That's right. I get you.
So in
Helen had just raised that question that the allegations that what Mr. Jakpa had said
is direct
to the Attorney General.
So it can somebody
because
else,
because this morning, if you check out the front page of the Daily Guide, it says here on page, it's captured in page 3, Atufo Jakpa applications frivolous AG, and you have a picture of dummy. So then we enter the story, and it says it's from the office of the Attorney General. So
but
that's
you see,
the
the
distinction.
allegation has not been made against the office.
That's right.
These matters will be coming up hopefully tomorrow.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to
go into it. But we appreciate the fact that you've given us what the legal process is.
So that's how the legal processes will be by way of public education. So for instance, when this matter comes up tomorrow for court, so the Attorney General can say that this is what Jakpa is saying. Jakpa, I want you to enter the box. I want to cross-examine you. The affidavit is considered to be testimony.
Right.
So it can be cross-examined on. Do you get it?
Right.
So then Jakpa's lawyers or whoever can also say, you the person who deposed to this affidavit, you are not. So mount the witness board.
Okay.
Because at the time we're meeting, you were not there. You and I were not there.
Right.
So the thing that you are saying, I hearsay. All those matters will come up tomorrow.
Why? Well, somebody said that this has become an NDC MPP matter. We are not going anywhere with it because already as a country we are polarized. And then they're asking the question, for you in the NDC and for you on the side of Jakpa and Atufosin, looks like you are stretching this beyond, what has to be stretched. People say there are bread and butter issues. Why are you stretching this? Is that what you're doing?
No, not at all. Again, as you rightly pointed out, I'm the director legal. The national chairman of our party did a press conference and stated the position of the party. Listen, all of us here, if there's anything I cherish that you have, it's your liberty.
Right.
It's your liberty. Nothing more, nothing else. Look, there is nothing so beautiful than liberty. The fact that you can wake up this morning and decide not to go out is something that a lot more time we don't cherish.
Right.
The fact that you can wake up this morning and say, today, I want to go and sit by the beach and just see the sky. You have no idea. So anything that can potentially result in the curtailment of the liberties of any individual, it's not a matter that should be taken lightly. Much more when it appears organized. Much more when it appears orchestrated. Now, you see, thankfully for us, the 1992 Constitution clearly defines the role given to a person called the Attorney General. Not any one of us. The Attorney General under Article 88. Special powers. Special powers is a very unique office. From the previous constitution that we've had, I'm not sure we've had that kind of arrangement. So this is unique.
Right.
Very unique.
Where your job description and a KPI is spelled
given.
out.
In fact, even the finance minister's roles are not clearly provided. Do you know that anybody can be finance minister?
Right.
Yes, anybody.
But only a lawyer can become an attorney general.
Yes, because you see, you are the principal legal advisor to the government. 2, per the 1992 Constitution, the initiation of any criminal trial in this country is at the direction of the Attorney General, and not even the President. Not even the President. So it's a very unique office. And so it requires, I've always maintained sobriety and others. I've always maintained.
Well, you said that the other time.
Yeah,
when you were
I've
here.
always maintained. And look, because the matters are matters that predominantly will come in court, just on the bit by the national chairman of the NDC, I just want to repeat, this thing requires dispassionate investigation. Dispassionate. See, audio recordings. You remember the famous Tagore case?
Right.
What was the basis of the case? The audio recording in the house of Kofi Boakye.
M.B. Benjamin.
M.B. Benjamin. It was the audio recording that was left at the Georgina Wood committee sitting. That formed the basis of the criminal trial. As we speak today, the former national chairman of NDC, Ofosu
Right.
is he not in court?
He is in court.
What is the basis of the trial?
Audio recording.
Audio recording.
But Frank Davis says your recording you played is doctored, it's fake.
And you see,
He's the director. He's your opposite number in the
he is
NPP.
even the chair of the legal committee.
Well, he's your opposite number in the...
No, that's Gary. Gary is the director, and he's the
chairman
of the committee.
of the Constitutional Legal Committee of the MPP.
I mean, Senior Frank Davis is a man I respect greatly. In fact, many times he calls me his mentee. Senior Frank Davis is the type that will even see me and tell me he doesn't want to see me with this sosk anymore.
Okay.
That's the level
of friendship.
The relationship. I think on this one he got it wrong. I mean, for him to agree to do this janitorial service, for me, is regrettable.
Why do you describe it as such?
Look, he can't clean this mess. He can't. And look, do you know Godfrey Dami?
I know him.
Even on live TV or radio programs, he calls into it.
He's quite vocal.
Quite vocal.
Right.
He's not media shy. Why is he not talking?
Well,
He's
maybe
been
he
out
will
of their
meet you in
What jurisdiction?
maybe he will meet you in court
Please.
and say the things he wants to say
Thankfully
in court.
today, even if you are in Siberia, you have the benefit of a phone call. This allegation borders on his professional work. His, not any other person. Nobody had made an allegation against Frank Davis. The accounts have a saying, you say, Ubi enum edru ema bofra. Sebi. Waka ememu. When we be yare ama obi enum edru ama no.
I didn't see that.
Oba yare. Fever. Now woman no wakọ nom chloroquine. Say oba no benya yare sa. Sebi e ka say. Your child is sick, diagnosed with malaria. They have given prescription and you go home and decided to drink it with a view that your child will heal. No, who does that? And that is what I'm saying. And you see, I say janitorial service because see how my very senior,
Frank Davis.
look at what he had done to himself.
What has he done to himself? He's doing
Pastor Mensah Otabil once said, he said, when you find yourself in a hole and you desire to come out, you don't dig further. Now you have put greater responsibility on yourself. Listen, when this audio thing came out, obviously the MPP didn't know what it was. So Nanabi and Co came out to say that one, in fact, the Attorney General himself, in a statement issued by his deputy, Tuayebua, made the point that there was no meeting.
the first statement.
That's right.
Statement. I think paragraph 3, that there was no meeting. Then the subsequent one came from Nanabia. Said, oh, there was a meeting. And the meeting took place in the house of a Supreme Court judge. You remember?
I remember
Yes.
that.
And now proceeded to say that the NDC had doctored that recording to take the voice of the minister out. I mean the Supreme Court judge out, sorry. Then now, the audio is played on Tuesday. Then it turned out that it was not a recording of a meeting, but it was a phone call. Then later in the evening, the MPP now have a press conference and said, listen carefully, the NDC had doctored the tape. My lady, the most prudent and sensible thing to do is to put out the original and say, this is the original recording. See what the NDC had done. They have rather pieced voices from different places together. The voice you heard, seamless telephone call. So the MPP is put in a position of a man who had been blindfolded and still throwing punches.
Well, they say that your party chairman played, explained, played, played. So it made it difficult for anybody to see if it's doctored or not.
Please.
What do you say to that? I need you to respond to that. That your party chairman played, explained, played, explained. So
on this your show, when you are doing it, you pause and sometimes take musical interlude.
right.
That's right.
And proceed. Does it take away the fact that you are the one talking? When you say something is doctored, even from dictionary meaning,
Right.
it means that you are representing something that is not the case,
That's correct.
right?
That's correct.
What in the audio recording have they said is not the case? First of all, is that Godfrey Diebu Adame and Richard Jagba. That's it. That is the barest minimum, what you do. Nothing more, nothing else. Do you get my point?
I get it.
Nothing more, nothing else. All these things that they decided to introduce into the conversation are simply red herring, regrettably. And again, listen, our side, throughout this conversation, we have not made any allegation against a judge or whatsoever. We have been very careful. In fact, the statement issued by my national chairman was vetted to ensure that no way is the court scandalized. But remember that the Attorney General is a public officer.
Right.
That's the distinction. Throughout the press conference and this, you never hear any NDC person. And in fact, as a director legal, I have told all our communicators, focus on the recording. That recording has nothing to do with the judge.
Right.
That recording has nothing to do with the judicial process. What the recording has to do is the extrajudicial effort by the Attorney General, obviously to secure conviction at all costs, which to our mind contravenes the requirement of fair. Look, I will share with you a decision by our courts many years ago. And this is what a High Court judge, Justice Akenya, had to say relative to such conduct. I'll just read portions of the decision. Quote, from the beginning of the case and throughout the trial, the prosecuting state attorney exhibited open hostility to the defense. The course of action taken by him was, in my view, contrary to the principles of justice and the established rules of practice. It was little short of scandalous that the state attorney should bully, coerce a person standing trial on criminal charges, humiliate his counsel, intimidate his witnesses. The attitude adopted by him to obtain conviction at all costs is foreign to criminal trial in this country. It savours of oppression and must be condemned in no uncertain term. This is the decision of the High Court.
Who is being referenced in this?
A prosecuting attorney then, not necessarily this.
Okay, all right.
You understand? I am bringing this to fore so you appreciate the high standard when you are called an attorney.
Right.
Because you see, let me tell you something. Immediately criminal charges are put on you, you become vulnerable. A person that had criminal charges hanging is like the sword of Damocles hanging on your head. That is how serious criminal matters are. And that is why you notice that in the professional etiquette rules of lawyers, there's a strict injunction against a prosecuting attorney from conferring with the accused.
Right.
Every form of conference must be done through his lawyer.
Every single time.
Not to meet him individually.
There's no leeway for that.
No. Because of the vulnerable state of the accused person. The whole idea is that, okay, so I'll just give you an example. I'm an accused, right? You are prosecuting me. You come to me and say, oh, Eduji, this is your case. Look, your daughter is barely 10 years. You know, if you are convicted, each one of these charges carry no less than 10 years. The next time you can see your daughter is when she turns 18. Barest minimum. Why not just say something and walk away? I will be soft on this matter with you. My lady, with you, with all these facts, if you can cooperate and go home, what would you do?
I'm vulnerable. I want to see my kids grow up. I'll bend. I'll yield.
You yield. So, and the charges are charges that you can do not less than 10 years, causing financial loss to the state. Right? So, you have a situation where you are dealing with a vulnerable accused person outside the lawyer. I've heard a statement that at the time Godfrey spoke to Jakba, he had representation.
Right.
That's false. On 26 March, the respected lawyer Tadio Sori appeared in court I was in court that day. I was counsel for Mr. Forson. And said he had been engaged and wants time to study. 26 March. When did the interview happen? The phone conversation, 9th April. So at that time, he was a represented person.
Right.
And the court's record will, of course, show.
Will show it, because if Tadiosori had come to court...
The truth of the matter is that we went into chambers. Yes. So what are we talking about? On the 9th of April, 7/12, when that phone call happened, Japa was represented.
By Tadiosori.
By Tadiosori. In fact, Tadios announced himself on the 26th of March.
It seems as though there's some sort of sinister twist being put on the fact that Mr. Jakpa has been represented by different attorneys.
It matters not.
Why is that?
It's of no moment. It's of no moment. Listen. Mr. Jakpa decided that, look, I want the best of representation.
Right.
So at every stage, he said, okay, I don't want you. But the point is that at the time of that telephone conversation, he was represented because 2 weeks prior, his lawyer, Mr. Tadiosori, came to court.
I see. The former director of the Ghana Law School, Kweku Ansah-Asare, he says the president lacks the political will to sack the Attorney General, and that the Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, must resign. Now, Frank Davis says the Attorney General is going nowhere. He will be there, he will be witty, he will continue to stay focused, etc., etc., etc.
I have already given you the clearest indication. I mean no disrespect to my senior, Frank Davis. You see, when you get to a certain stage in life, you should have the strength, the courage to call a young man and say, look, you've erred. Do what is honorable. See, you can Google Attorney General Michel. You remember the Watergate scandal?
Right, the U.S.
In the U.S., 1977 thereabout. The Attorney General got involved in that scandal. What happened? The Democratic office was backed. So everything that the Democratic Party were doing, the president was hearing. So when the Democratic Party meets to strategize, everything was being heard. Then the scandal came out. The Attorney General, Michel, did 19 months imprisonment.
Okay, let's move away from it.
Why?
We'll move away from it. Well, the Attorney General, according to Article 88, there shall be an Attorney General of Ghana who shall be a Minister of State and the principal legal advisor to the government. 2, the Attorney General shall discharge such other duties. One minute. Okay. Other duties of a legal nature as may be referred or assigned to him by the President or imposed on him by this Constitution or any other law. 3, the Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all prosecutions of criminal offences. 4, all offences prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana shall be at the suit of the Attorney General and any other person authorized by him in accordance with any law. 5, the Attorney General shall be responsible for the institution and conduct of all civil cases on behalf of the state, and all civil proceedings against the state shall be instituted by the Attorney General as a defendant. 6, the Attorney General shall have audience in all courts in Ghana. And just curious, which part of this KPI in the Constitution is in Godfrey Dame doing, which is why he should go?
So you say prosecute is a public duty. So it is not called persecute.
Okay.
It is prosecute. So when you are performing that public duty, it puts a greater burden on
Microphone,
you.
please.
Oh, sorry. It puts a greater burden on you. And so usually the position is that the Attorney General only responsibility is to put the bare fact and allow the judge to make the decision.
Right.
It should not be, I want to get conviction at all cost. And the case I referenced, you heard what the judge said. That is what puts the Attorney General's. And you see, Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution also makes the fact that a person who has discretionary power must exercise that power in a fair and candid manner.
That's right.
Can you say that when an Attorney General not even the state attorney, the attorney general himself, reach it out to an accused person and have the kind of conversation on the phone, would you say that is a proper exercise of his discretionary power?
Okay.
There's also a requirement that an attorney general should ensure that in performance of his duty, he should not demonstrate resentment.
That's right.
Resentment. I'll show you something without prejudice. So a company called BC approaches the AG directly by writing and say, look, we brought the ambulance. If you have an issue with it, right, we want to take our ambulances back. We'll give you your money, right? If you are charged the people for causing financial loss, you should be interested in recovering the money. Question, why has the AG failed? The AG wrote saying that unless Atuforsen is part, he's not going to do that. Does it not show targets?
Well, let's leave that to the court. Let's go to Kaswa.
No, this one has nothing to do with even the court. I'm just because the plea happened outside the court.
Right.
But I'm just giving you
that if your intention is to receive money and now money is being offered to you, why are you not interested in taking the money?
Like people have have advanced the argument of things like a deterrence and so on and so forth. So beyond the money.
Hold on, it's a public interest conversation.
Right.
Right. There's no evidence that Atuforsen was paid the money.
Okay, I hear you.
So, what at this circumstance? What is the best interest of the republic?
We need money.
You need the money.
Okay.
And in this one, it's not even the case that you say, okay, we'll take the money and continue. It's not that case.
Okay.
You have flatly rejected the money.
Let's leave it here and let her ladyship Fiasewa deal with the issues in court. Let's go to Kaswa.
Registration. Motorbikes now this is all acceptable. But I was saying now he's doing very, very well. Next is calling I got a phone and I trying to come out. They're calling me trying to make the Pisa police was saying, you're banning them on a handcuff, action in Sano. Although you're in self-defense, it's a trouble. How I come to battle show. I'm not with the handcuff. I'm also action in
That's what happened there. Hawakumsin's son allegedly stabbed in a confusion near Kaswa, the Electoral Commission's office. Eduji, has this come to your attention?
In fact, yesterday when the incident happened,
Atukumsin, that's his name.
Yes, our parliamentary candidate immediately reached out to me that this, I think it was just around 6 a.m.
Okay.
And the incident happened around 5:30. So what is the issue? The Electoral Commission is about to do transfer. Right. So
But the process has started.
Yes. Now remember that the transfer of votes is the most potent tool for gerrymandering.
Right.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. The Honorable Felix Kwachi Fosu lost his parliamentary bid by 179 votes, 173
The
votes.
Asebu area.
Asebu Kwamankesi, AEK. Okay. Now, his opponent can simply say, okay, because of that, MPP won in Asin North by maybe 6,000.
Right.
So I'll go to Asin North, Asin Central,
right.
That's Ken's place, and harvest about 2,000 more votes in the name of transfer to Abura Asebu Kwamankesi.
Okay.
By so doing, to offset and increase the number. Do you get it? So that vote transfer, carefully executed, can distort a lot.
Even if the people don't live there or they don't work there or have no business in the constituency.
Exactly. It can be manipulated. So in this case, the two political parties decided that they will establish an internal protocol. What is the protocol? What they were doing during the registration itself is that by 4 a.m., you will see people in a queue. And those people have already registered. So later in the day, you have turned 18. If you come, then I'll cede my place for you.
So they are protecting the spots
Exactly.
for people who come in.
Perfect.
So like the seat fillers, what we have in theater. They fill the seats. When you come, they just get up and you can take your seat.
Basically, Roland had this movie where there was a guy who would just sit in there and be clapping.
Right.
And you understand? So that's basically the protocol. So now the two parties met the police and said this time around, don't even be set 10 for the vote transfer.
Okay.
The parties agreed. So around 5 a.m., Hawa Kumsin's son then comes there with tax. That notwithstanding the protocol arrangement with the police, we are coming there with people to fill in the queue.
This is Atu Kumsing.
Atu. So if you watch, the NDC guy was attacked. So Atu Kumsing left and brought reinforcement.
Okay.
That is where the incident started.
So who stabbed Atu Kumsing?
As we speak, I cannot tell.
We don't know who did that.
But what happened was that there was serious scuffle. Two NDC people, as I speak to you, are on admission. But curiously, the police rather arrested the NDC people and left Atu.
Why?
I don't know. But you see, my politics, I don't subscribe to violence. So reason is that you see, violence doesn't come with an address. No address.
Right.
Innocent bystander can just be, and that person may just be you.
Right.
So in my politics, I never, once I see any violent thing, I say, no, stop. Because you see, you don't know. Look, I'll tell you something. In the year 2020, during the voter registration exercise, Madam Hawa Kumsing went to the voter registration exercise with a gun.
Right.
It didn't end there.
She said it was in self-defense.
She actually fired.
Right. She said it was in self-defense.
A crowd of people. Where was the self-defense in this? Was she under any form of attack? Was she? No such thing. It was contrived. It's curious. If at that time when she did that, in any case, let the person be arrested. At least you process her for court and let her come to court to raise the defense of self-defense. Correct. This time, no such thing happened. So a judge competently so can assess the defense.
Right.
By looking at all the circumstances of the matter. Is that what happened?
Well, So the fuller story here, beyond the narration, says Ato Kumsin, the son of MP for Wutu Senya East, and the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Mavis Howard Kumsin, has been allegedly stabbed following a confusion near the Electoral Commission's office at Kaswa. According to available information, Mr. Kumsin was in critical condition when he was rushed to the 37 Military Hospital for treatment. Sources say another person was also injured during the altercation. Giving more details, an eyewitness said the confusion started when supporters of the governing NPP and opposition NDC disagreed on the position of some residents in the queue in the ongoing voter ID card transfer and replacement exercise. The source explained that both parties usually join the queue for members by booking a spot with the chair. However, disagreement on who should sit on a particular chair started around 4 a.m. Whoa. Mr. Kumsing is said to have arrived at the registration center about 45 minutes after the altercation started. He is then alleged to have approached the NDC organizer at the registration center to help resolve the matter. However, another alleged member of the NDC started to verbally abuse him. According to King Adau, a member of the NPP who also sustained a minor cut, the alleged NDC member pulled out a knife during the exchange between the two gentlemen, stabbing the minister's son on the chest, in the chest. King Adau told the reporter that he had tried to block the knife, which resulted in an injury to his hand. And you can see Mr. Kumsin lying on a stretcher, then all of that. Eduji, this, you made mention of Howard Kumsin in the past. I remember that matter came up at the vetting table when because initially she was Minister for Special Initiatives and now Minister for Aquaculture. That matter came up, and in fact she was asked if the police had officially charged her, and then she said no, and I think that was the last we heard of that matter.
So
do you see history repeating itself in this matter, and the conduct of the police particularly?
The culture of impunity. The culture of impunity. Imagine it was Edwigi who fired into that crowd, where I'll be by now. You understand? So that's...
And mind you, the GJA placed the ban on Howard Kumsing and Farouk of Yendi. You remember not so long ago, the ban was lifted not so long ago.
I'm just telling you that, you see, maybe with respect, Howard should learn a certain lesson from this. Look, all the politics that we do, we should take violence out. Look, democracy is a platform to share superior ideas. Mine is better than yours. We judge or we go. Howard has been trying to democratize violence. Do you get it?
I don't understand.
She has been democratizing violence. Howard Kumsin.
How is she doing that?
I mean, look at her record. Everywhere Howard Kumsin is associated, you see violence. She believes that her idea of democracy is violence. She had become an evangelist of violence in our democracy.
Maybe people around her do that. And sometimes
Who
she doesn't have the control.
Gun? Who fired the gun? She did it herself.
That was one instance.
Oh my goodness. You want people to die before?
I didn't say that.
Good.
But she said it was in self-defense.
But you see, even more serious is the fact that, look, your son, look at what has happened. Anything could have happened. Look, let's be careful. Let's be careful. Me, I always say this. Nobody has another life placed in a deep freezer. Where if something happened to this one, you go to the freeze and then take the other one you store there. No. We don't need this. We don't. Look, if the two parties had complied with the protocol that they themselves have agreed, this will not be where it is.
Interesting.
This will not be where it is. So it was completely avoidable. And again, to the IGP, you see, the posturing of the Ghana police in some of these matters is not helping. Two people get involved, then you arrest one person. I don't understand. You arrest one person. The NDC guy was on his sick bed at the hospital, was in handcuff.
And you say Mr. Kumsin was not arrested?
You saw the van that was carrying him to the hospital.
It's an ambulance.
The ambulance.
Let's go back. Let's do a bit of a throwback some 3 years ago. Listen.
Etu ne kasa e no na bo fi he.
Ayami ana me ma woni show.
Wan kasa wo MP no. Na wo kura tuo ben ne kita o.
Mpato mi ntumi nkyere.
Wonim tuo no.
Ara ta obi ta se ba ne se ne ma woni show.
O dabi meba no so ba mpese me hu etu okro ne kita o no wadaroma.
Me ntumi nkyere we etu okro.
Honorable na say wo as an honorable member of parliament who think say wo kura tuo wonim tuo okro na wo to. Ana
it needs to be protected me home.
Always me protected, but also who to because one samba ube ya no by all means. Ana me say etu no o ekitao ebi ya license ya license ya
me protect who am license.
Ente dey etu our license dey onim tu okro ntina me bisa say etu ben ya.
Ana me ka to say me mbo mi tu oni gi njobe be ta to say my license ni tu.
Na dey say wo ko eye center ho no aboa wo ho dada. Sa na mpese mi hu.
Ma aboa me hu okwan na so. Me a member of parliament. Eti me now na say me kuta ma put na dia me dey because we ni obi obekia. Ana me yo banti.
Oh Dabi, enye so yo banti. Na minim say wo ye minister of state so wo wo eye police escort. O police ni obo ho ba no nka ho.
Na me police ni nka me ho.
All right. Ebanisa na ututu no. Ona bo ebanisa na ututu no.
Sorry am ma tina me police ni o sie no nye mai.
All right.
Enti me ko da bi na me police ni nka ho a. Ni kuta me de bo me wo ban.
Okay. Ona bo nti ma ye hunu ebanisa na ututu no. Je ne sie.
Ba chao. Ana na me cho mu se ya ni se ya ba ye no.
Okay. So that's what we have there. Interesting.
So like I pointed out, some of these things breed a certain culture of impunity. Sometimes, for whatever is worth, you take the
microphone,
person
please.
Sorry, for whatever is worth, take the person through the process. You understand? It tells other people that, hey, se minister crown in a quarter, and a me.
Right.
The mother could do it. The son is emboldened. Look at what we are having.
Eduji, we have to say thank you to you. And breaking news coming in is that Ghanaian movie actor Kwejon Kansa Lewin has been arrested by the Mensha Divisional Police Command over his involvement in an accident that claimed the life of a 3-year-old. The fatal accident occurred at Amakum in Kumasi on the May 25. The actor was arrested as soon as he was discharged from the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital this morning. He's likely to be processed for court. And if you stay with us here on 3FM 92.7, we'll bring you some more updates as the day travels.
Before I just maybe this morning I'm a bit sad.
Why?
The PURC has just put out a notice.
Electricity, water,
showing that
LPG.
Electricity and water prices are
and LPG
are going up. One would have expected that the kind of economic hardship and uncertainties that have been imposed on Ghanaians, this government will have some sympathy for the people of this country.
Right.
And if you read the PRC report, it states clearly that the reason for the upward adjustment in tariff had to do with the depreciation of the cedi.
Right.
Now, the persons whose responsibility are the chair of the economic management team to provide bold solutions to stabilize the Ghana cedis has jackpot. He had basically abandoned the leadership of the EMT and chasing the wind. I think that you people have the clearest voice in some of these matters. We need to bring government back. The whole idea that I need to be the president of Ghana before I can solve your problem is insulting. No, because you see, Johnny, as we speak now, who is the vice president of Ghana?
It's Dr. Baumia.
Who is the chairman of the EMT?
It's Dr. Baumia, but he said he was not directly in charge of.
I mean, what is the meaning of this?
He was an IT digitalization.
No, what is the meaning of this? It's a mark of irresponsibility.
You don't understand that he says he was not the one in charge of that.
But is it not curious?
He was the championing the digitalization agenda.
Is it not curious that a man who says on his website
right,
that I am the forefront of government policies and programs, now says that no, I'm only in charge of digitalization. Who says that? Why? Why are we not holding Dr. Baumia to a higher standard? Why have we lowered the standard for him? It's curious. Because this is the same Baumia who could read out 170 questions to his predecessor. Or Emisata was mate. If he was mate, have you sat in a trotro before?
I have.
Have you done that before?
I have. Too many times.
Please, you have not.
You
look Dadabi.
I have sat in Arrow Glass before.
No, you look Dadabi.
I have sat in face-to-face before.
No, you look Dadabi.
I was in the trotro when we were taking 4 in a row. Now we
look,
reduced
you
to
are
3.
Dadabi.
No, I'm not
if you had
Dadabi.
ever used trotro.
I have used trotro before.
When you are going, who pays when they are buying fuel?
It's a driver's mate.
It's a driver's mate.
Yes.
Who takes the money?
Driver's mate.
If the driver will buy anything, who does it for him?
It's a driver's mate.
I mean,
in fact, the mate actually enjoys more than the driver, because if he wants to buy ice cream, he just stretches his buys and
like I always say, if you look at the 1992 Constitution, it never had in its contemplation that the vice president should be a mate. It contemplated a vice president to be a co-driver. And so you notice that even though there are 2 people, they fight on 1 ticket. And that is why you notice that whether there is an issue of death, resignation, impeachment, right, you don't have fresh election for the vice.
Right.
He continues.
Right. As happened in the case of President Mills and President Mahama.
And in the U.S., many instances, the vice president takes over immediately.
Right.
You don't go for fresh elections for the vice.
That's correct.
We need to get to the point where the suffering that Ghanaians are going through is the direct responsibility of Dr. Mahamudu Baumia. And no attempt to rewrite the script should work.
Okay, listen to Dr. Baumia 2 years ago. Listen to him.
When you teach economics, you have to ask your students that question. Why is it that we ask that the debt levels be maintained at prudent levels? The reason is because if you do not manage your debt properly, it will affect your exchange rate, it will affect your interest rates, it will affect your inflation, it will affect your growth. Isn't that the case? You are managing the economy in a way to look at its impact on these variables: exchange rates, interest rates, inflation, and growth rates. That is the issue. When the NDC was in government, well, way before they took us to HIPIC, remember the HIPIC period, they had mismanaged the debt levels such that we had very high inflation, very high exchange rate depreciation, very high interest rates, and low growth. That was the legacy they left us. By the time we were going towards 2016, the debt levels had increased to an extent where the inflation was going up, interest rates going up, exchange rate depreciation going up, and growth also coming down. And they had to run to the IMF for a bailout. Wasn't that the case? That was NDC economic management. Our debt levels have gone up, but what has happened to inflation? It has come down. What has happened to exchange rates? Depreciation has come down. What has happened to interest rates? It has come down. What has happened to growth? It is going up. That is a difference in economic management.
That's Dr. Baumia for you. 2 years ago.
So 2 years ago, the man, even before, the man who told the IGP that he had put
It was at the same forum, though.
Yes, the dollar or something.
He had arrested the dollar and given the key to IGP
and the key. The IGP that went on retirement.
Right.
Why he gave the keys back to the dollar? He gave the keys back. I mean, this comical, I mean, like, seriously, is it the case that Bawumia has no respect for Ghanaians?
Oh, you can't say that.
No, because that is what it is. Today, please, I beg you, let's do these numbers right. If you had 1 million, 1 million Ghana cedis in 2016, and you sell Brony Wow, it will get you $250,000 worth of Obroni Wow.
Right.
Today, the same 1 million will get you $70,000 worth of Obroni Wow from $250,000. What it means is that if you had 10 million Ghana cedis in 2016, right, it gave you, guess what, $2.5 million. Today, that same 10 million Ghana cedi gives you only $700,000. What are we talking about? Was it not Bawumia who said, when in doubt, observe the exchange rates?
Right.
He said, when in doubt, observe the exchange rates. Today, cement prices are going up. Look, car that you could just go and buy. Today, all the prices are skyrocketing. And the person whose ultimate responsibility is it to work on those matters is gaslighting you.
Okay.
It's out there creating the impression as though he was never in there.
Okay, listen.
Power next door, which has come through a civil war after an electoral dispute, has, thanks to disciplined and prudent management, recovered dramatically. Its GDP growth was 8.4%, while inflation is 1.2% in 2015. Cote d'Ivoire is now the largest producer of cashew in the world, and its economy is being transformed dramatically. So the question that you have to ask is, how can global phenomena skip Cote d'Ivoire and all the surrounding countries and only attack Ghana? How? How?
3FM 92.7, Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
After 8 years, they have had more resources than all governments from Nkrumah to Kufuor put together. They have used up 248 billion Ghana cedis. And after 248 billion Ghana cedis, they cannot pay for national health insurance. They cannot pay for the national youth employment. They cannot pay for the school feeding program. They cannot pay for the free maternal care program. They cannot pay teacher training allowances. They cannot pay nursing training allowances. The mass cocoa spraying program has collapsed. And today, electricity is costing more than rent. This is the government of President John Dramani Mahama. That is the record. And this is why we say, if the MPP could build this economy with 20 billion Ghana cedis, and you come and collapse it with 248 billion Ghana cedis, it shows without question that you are an incompetent government. Without question, you are an incompetent government.
That's a lot of energy from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Well, he spoke. President Kufuor had this to say about him.
We, and when I say we, I mean the nation as a whole, must be helped with the analysis of the foundation on which our economy stands. Is it a foundation of strength and productivity? Sustainably increasing the wealth of the nation, and which is being managed rationally and competently with the singular purpose of the continued well-being of the entire citizenry as the objective. In this era of technocracy and solutions-oriented applications, the nation must count itself fortunate to have such a son as Alhaj Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who roundly fills the role of the needed analyst. He is an economist, banker, and also a responsible politician. Who packs a lot of experience and pragmatism to address the theme of the state of the economy and its foundations, whether of rock or straw.
President Kufuor there.
Is it not curious? That even President Kufuor was scammed?
Oh, how? Why are you singling out Dr. Baum? He had a team to work with.
You see, sometimes, look, nobody forced Dr. Baumia to go to Cape Coast to say that they have a solid economic management team.
Right.
Nobody did. He walked in there and started telling us the team they have assembled. Now you are the leader of the team. At the end of the day, you've taken the car into a ditch.
Thanks to COVID, Russia, Ukraine, your unsupportive party, and then also the latest
2020 COVID-19 gave this government $6 billion. Fresh money, cool money. From the analysts, they say COVID resulted in a 14 billion Ghana cedi loss of revenue. That's what they say. Now, of 6 billion, let's do the netting. 14 billion against 6 billion. It was a gain. The problem had to do with the 15% budget deficit recorded in 2020. That is why we have been struggling to get out. And I'll tell you something quickly. From 2017 to 2021, this government had gone to the Eurobond market for no less than $13 billion. Eurobond alone, $11 billion. Plus the 2.25 Franklin Templeton bond, making it $13 billion within the space of 5 years. Unprecedented. In the whole 8 years of NDC rule, we went for Eurobond 3.5 billion, 8 years. In the space of just 5 years, this government had done Eurobond alone 11 billion. If you add the Franklin Templeton bond, $13 billion.
Dr. Baumia says that you had the benefit of so much money, but you did so little.
Now, guess what? Baumia referenced 248 billion Ghana cedis.
Right. He said you have not done
8 years.
Much with it.
In 8 years. Okay. Legon Hall motto is that to whom much is given, much is expected. Good. Do you know how much had come into the hands of this administration? Tax revenue alone is 413 billion Ghana cedis. That's twice what NDC got. And you know, usually when you do the envelope of resources analysis, you are looking at tax revenue, grants, and loans. Right? Okay. So loans, grants, all this thing in 8 years was 248 billion. Guess how much the total financial envelope that this government had gotten in the space of 7 years? 932 billion Ghana cedis. 932 billion. The tax revenue component alone is 413. So in dollar terms, this administration had gotten $132 billion. What to show for? What do you have to show for? Don't bring free SHS. Because the overall cost of free SHS is not up to 12 billion Ghana cedis.
But it adds up to it.
You see?
But it adds up to it.
No, I am saying that even ESLA, that John Mahama left, had given this administration almost 20 billion. ESLA alone.
So you expect more?
More! Twice, 3 times, 4 times. We are talking about, in 8 years, 248 billion. In 7 years, you have gotten 932 billion, $132 billion. And you are broke. Look, let me tell you.
The external factors that Dr. Bawumia talked about.
Last year alone, do you know how much GRA raised?
How much?
113 billion Ghana cedis. That's almost $6 billion. Last year. How much are we going for the IMF? 3 billion. This is a government that is giving tax exemption of $335 million.
Centro and the other companies. B5.
Are we crazy?
Centro.
Are we crazy? You are expecting $300 million from the IMF and you are giving out $335 million. Are we serious? Look, as we speak now, this government is even borrowing outside the budget. You know what happened? They had projected to spend 215 billion Ghana cedis this year. Do you know how much they intend raising by way of revenue? 175 billion. So already you need about 50 billion Ghana cedi borrowing to balance the budget. An election year. So they are willing to destroy the economy in order to justify. And that is why I have always maintained that the decision by the MPP to even bring Bawumia onto the ticket is a test of our national sanity.
Why do you say that?
No, because you see, ordinarily, a political party should not test Ghanaians. This is a man, I mean, you heard him. In NDC time, I'll tell you this. Setepe had gone to Parliament to read the budget and announced that the benchmark crude oil, the price, was going to be $83 per barrel. Within 3 months, international crude oil prices dropped to $40, resulting in a huge gap in our budget. That's exogenous factor. That's external factor. When we raised that issue then, the commodity prices had fallen and it has affected the budget seriously. Bawumia then retorted that, are we saying that the exogenous factors bypass Cote d'Ivoire to come to only Ghana?
Right.
Did COVID only happen to Ghana?
Well, the effect on us, that's what the government says.
No.
The global effect and by extension, in our case, it hit us so hard.
As we speak, you and I speak, respectfully, Johnny, as we speak, right?
Right.
Are we not still being charged COVID recovery levy?
We are being charged. In fact, yesterday I was charged. We went to eat somewhere.
Yes.
Tourism levy, COVID levy, NHIL, Get Fund, and VAT.
What are we talking about? At the time in 2021, when they brought the COVID levy, and we said, but the money you use for free water, free electricity, carefully, and the level of dishonesty and deception of this government is huge.
But right now, the government says we're going to give dialysis patients 6 months.
No.
6 months.
No. I'll deal with that.
Finally,
do you know? So we wrap up. Do you know that they went for $200 million from the stabilization fund?
Okay.
With the city equivalent, it gave them 1.2 billion Ghana cedis. That's what they use for free water, free electricity. But today, what are they doing? They are taxing us COVID recovery levy.
We're paying for it.
You see the deception.
But then you should clap for them for the dialysis thing.
Oh,
6 months.
this morning, I heard apparently they have an association.
Right.
And the guy asks,
I've interviewed them here before.
this government has been in power for, this is the 8th year.
That's right.
6 months into an election, you come and say you are absorbing. So the gentleman asked, so after the 6 months, what next? As we speak, for the whole of 2024, this government has not released even a cedi to National Health Insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's a law.
Do you know
there's
that,
a law that says that. Well, I even
60
forgot
days.
I even forgot the NHIS to add to the list.
Yes.
So there was NHIS Get Fund, COVID levy, VAT, and tourism levy when we went to eat. Right?
Yes, that's the point I'm making.
But then there's a law that says that as soon as the monies are collected,
60 days.
60 days, you have to.
From January to date, is it no more? In fact, 30 days. Is it no more? And you know, even the most worrying part, the whole of 2022, this government raised 1.9 billion Ghana cedi from NHIS levy. They released zero to National Health Insurance.
Why?
I don't know.
Has it been capped?
No, beyond
Has
the
it been collateralized?
No, the Capping and Realignment Act. Beyond that, in fact, as for the Capping and Realignment law, if we talk about it, you cry. Do you know that from 2017 to date, when the Capping and Realignment law came in, 6 billion Ghana cedis have been taken from National Health Insurance?
But your people are in parliament. They see these things. Why
We
can't
have
they,
raised the issue.
why can't they block it?
How are you going to block? With what number? My brother, respectfully, with what number? Look at how the minority have tried to even block this tax exemption. But it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. The unfortunate thing, look, in the space of 7 years, 6 billion. Can you imagine what 6 billion would have done to National Health Insurance provider? Now, this is where the
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly.
30 seconds.
National Health Insurance provided, they buy these reagents and others
Right.
from abroad in dollars.
The consumables.
The consumables in dollars. They bring it to Ghana. 6 months, they are not paid. So by the time they pay, the foreign differential losses alone would have destroyed their income. Have you seen any government since 1992 conduct a DDEP? And do you know the painful part?
No.
Middle class Ghanaians, this government decided to give them a serious haircut and destroy their savings.
Eduji, thank you very much indeed. We're grateful.
Akufo-Addo had then promised that there shall be no haircut.
Right.
How do you believe these people?
Thank you.
Finally on it.
You are finished.
No, finally.
You
You
are
remember Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo saying that he wants somebody who would come and continue his legacy.
Yes.
Is it not curious? All the presidents we've had from 92, Jerry Rawlings brought VAT. John Mahama brought ESLA. Akufo-Addo brought e-levy, correct. How come that Bamia is not willing to continue the e-levy, the legacy of Akufo-Addo?
Thank you very much. Godwin Ejudi Tamaklo is the Director of Legal Affairs. Wait. Bring that Chobi. Ellen, bring that Chobi for me. So you have daughters. These are daughters. Can you change diapers?
I've been trying.
You've been trying to change diapers. If it had been a court brief or something, you'd have written it.
With speed and alert.
Yes. Now change diapers. You are saying you have been trying.
I've been trying.
So we have the baby fair coming up. Helen, when is the date?
So it's a 3-day event, 14th, 15th, and 16th June. Anything for
Marina
children,
Mall.
educational materials, you know.
My only thing is that I may come alone.
Why the girls? Your girls don't like to go out.
No.
Okay.
If I bring them,
yeah, you buy everything. Eh?
no, it means that I have to link my Momo to my bank account.
So you come and shop on their behalf.
Yes.
Okay.
Because anything they will see, they will buy.
You buy. Their daddy is rich. They have to buy.
So I prefer they being at home.
Then you come and shop.
I will
for
come
them.
and do the shopping, or even take pictures and say.
But we have a kids area that we
Yeah, no,
set
I
a
say,
bouncy
Bouncy
castle.
castle. We have so
No,
many
no,
nice
things, cotton
popcorn.
I beg
candy.
you see these things, it's like a very good soup.
Okay.
The aroma.
Yeah. It's
And
all
you
over
smell
the
it.
place. Yes.
Very far. And we say, Daddy, I beg you. I beg.
You're rejecting.
I may as well just link my
Momo to your bank account.
No, this one BOG.
BOG. You go into the vault.
Yeah, that's the only way I'll be saved.
I hear you.
Yeah,
thank you very much indeed.
Suggest together we win 2020. Ghanaians are looking up to us. We cannot expect to win the 2020 elections by default of NPP's poor performance in government.